Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us on another cooking webinar. So happy to have Larry do another one of these. He's been a great volunteer, always steps up. And we were thinking at LDI, which is our Leadership Development Institute we have once a year, we were chatting and he said, well, let's do something different. He said, what about soup? I said, that's a great idea. So without any further ado, Larry's already spotlighted. If I ask everyone to please mute yourself, and if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat. Take it away, Larry.
All right, thank you, Danny. Well, I'm gonna show you a vegetarian vegetable soup, and then modifications that you can make to it. First of all, a note about the recipe. When I was typing it late at night, I was using an old recipe for chili and I was just replacing ingredients, and I forgot to scratch off or delete the last three ingredients. So if you're wondering why there's masa flour and Tabasco sauce at the end, that's why. I guess I'll fix that and I'll send it to Lisa and she can send it out at some time. I'm sure everybody has seen these Manischewitz soup packets, and Stripes also has them. I'm sure there's other brands, and they're good basic packets, but I'm gonna jazz it up a little. Now, I'm doing things a little backwards, just so we'll have soup ready. I'll start, let me get the fire going here. I'll start browning some vegetables, actually sauteing, not browning, just to get them soft. That's the chopped up onions, carrots, and celery, which you see right here. Just do it over like a medium-high heat. Get the oil warmed up. And slide them in. And we're gonna see if I can do this. You can possibly see them in the pan sauteing. Let's see if I can get the camera set up again. Okay. So while that's going, normally I would do sauteing the vegetables. After a little while, add in the garlic, and then put water in, add the soup mix, and then it's got to cook for a couple hours. We don't have a couple hours tonight. So I actually have been making this soup mix part of it here in a separate pan. So once this is sauteed for a little bit, we will dump that in, and then we'll dump in the other ingredients. Now, let me review the ingredients we have here. I've got several canned vegetables, diced tomatoes, chickpeas, corn, mushrooms. I also have potatoes, which I'll cut up. All of this is going into the soup. Also, when you have one of these things, there's usually a little packet in one end that goes in like the last 10 minutes. Do we have any questions so far? Okay. You can see this is sauteing Normally I would do this probably for about 10 minutes. I'm not gonna take that long because sitting here watching me saute vegetables is not the most exciting thing in the world. Um, but I would suggest doing it for about 10 minutes, yourself. And then once it started to soften up, add in some minced garlic. Let it go for another minute or two. And now, by not sauteing it for the full amount of time, the vegetables aren't getting soft yet, but cooking in the soup, they will. And if you don't want to bother sauteing the vegetables, you can always just cut them up and throw them in. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and dump this in. And if you can see that, everything is in the pot now. Now's where the fun really begins. We're going to add in the vegetables, juice and all. I'll let you in on a little secret. You got stuff like the tomatoes that cling to the side of the can. Rinse out the can with a little bit of water and throw that in. Chickpeas, juice and all. Mushrooms, juice and all. I like the pop top cans, but not everybody has gotten the memo on that. Corn, juice and all. Just ends up making more soup. So now you got to bring all this stuff to a boil. You turn the flame up to do that. I have these potatoes, which I didn't dice them up ahead of time because they have the tendency to turn black. And I'm just giving a quick chop. Notice I'm leaving the skins on. That's a personal preference. You can peel them if you want. I've washed these off. Perfectly okay to eat the skins. And it's less work. See how easy this is? Okay, potatoes are in. And I'm turning the flame up to bring it to a boil. Also going to add a bay leaf. Want to make sure you don't eat the bay leaf. Let's see if we can show you what it looks like. You can see everything's in the pot. Now we just have to wait for it to boil and simmer. The one thing that's not in there yet is frozen mixed vegetables. Again, it makes it easy. No, I'm not gonna put this whole bag in. And these go back in the freezer. Now you can probably understand why I have such a big pot when the soup packets only call for 7 cups of water. Because by the time you add in all these things, it adds up. Now you can add different vegetables, you can omit vegetables, it's all your personal choice. I list some variations here on the second page of the recipe. You happen to use the vegetable soup mix. Manischewitz also makes a very good minestrone soup mix, plus others. I think a mushroom barley, split pea. Instead of water, you can use a vegetable stock or a chicken stock or broth or beef stock or broth. Of course, if you're using chicken or beef broth or stock, it's not going to be carb anymore. You can add meat if you want, stew beef, short ribs, chicken pieces, including the skin and bones, because that helps add flavor. And then there's one of my favorites, the turkey carcass. You know, you've had the big holiday meal, you've carved up the turkey, you have the carcass, which is bones and probably still has some meat attached. Throw all that in there, let it cook for an hour or so in the soup, and you got a lot of flavor out of the turkey carcass. You can also take a whole rotisserie chicken and just cut it up and throw it in, use that. As I said, you can add whatever additional vegetables you want, remove vegetables you don't want. You can add a can of tomato sauce and make it a tomatoey soup. You could add a can of kidney or black beans. Those I would drain and rinse because they tend to have kind of a goopy liquid in their cans. You could add some pasta. Small pasta works best, like pot thai, farfalle, macaroni, orzos. You can experiment. And okay, it's starting to come to a boil now. And now it's just a matter of cooking long enough for all the ingredients to soften up. And then in the last 5 to 10 minutes, probably about 10 minutes, you'd add the little packet that came in the soup. You could also taste it. If you need to, you can add some bouillon and or salt and pepper. And you can even add that Tabasco sauce if you want. Do we have any questions?
Can you make this in a crock pot?
You could. What you wouldn't brown, or I wouldn't suggest trying to brown or saute the vegetables first. I would just throw them in with the water, the soup mix, everything but that little packet. All, the canned vegetables, etc. Let it go all day in the crock pot. And then in the last, 10 minutes or so, add that packet. And if your crock pot is like mine, it has different heat settings. So certainly once you add that packet in, I would turn it up to the higher setting.
Question?
Sure.
Question?
Yeah.
What is EBCO? You see your first ingredients.
Uh, E, it, EVC, EVOO, is that what you,
I see EBCO.
um, you're talking about, what is it, after the minced garlic?
No, right to number one, first ingredient.
It should say 1 package Manischewitz vegetable soup mix.
That's later on, I think.
Does the,
Oh, under the instructions, and it's under the first instruction is EBCO.
it's actually EVOO.
Okay, what's EVOO?
Oh, I thought everybody knew that by now. Extra virgin olive oil.
Should have known. I
That's,
would have used that if you didn't tell me.
uh, I, I thought everybody had watched, Rachel Ray, 30-Minute Meals years ago, and EVOO kind of became part of the vernacular. So, sorry, it's my lazy typing. Just want to type EVOO instead of typing out extra virgin olive oil. Do we have any other questions? I'm going to taste a little bit, see how it's doing. I may have to adjust some stuff. Needs a little more moisture. Again, this is something that you have to do to your own taste. I tend to like things with a lot of flavor. Any other questions?
hi, Larry. Sorry I got here late. I just got off my club's meeting. Question for you and your soup. When you start, did you start sautéing onions and garlic before you made the soup stock?
Okay, so normally I would start by sauteing onions, celery and carrots for about 10 minutes, and then add the minced garlic for maybe a minute or two, and then add the water and bring that to a boil and add the soup mix, and then it's got to simmer for probably a couple hours. Since we don't have a couple hours here, I started that in a separate pot a couple hours ago. And once we sauteed everything, I just dumped it in. So I kind of did things a little backwards to shortcut it for the sake of the webinar.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? You just have to keep stirring it every so often. I have this on a medium flame right now. If you have to let it go for a couple hours, you would turn it down, to more of a simmer. And you could also put a lid on it. I had a lid on the other pot when I was cooking the soup packet ingredients. Come on, there's got to be more questions.
What's it taste like?
Well,
Make it find out.
yeah, I'm gonna.
Lisa has a question for you. What's your favorite soup?
My favorite? Oh, I don't know. Whatever I'm making that week. Of course, I'm a big fan of my mother's chicken noodle soup, but unfortunately, she's not here to make it anymore. I also like the pea and lentil, mushroom barley. And I mentioned turkey carcass soup earlier, which can really end up being almost anything. You start with the turkey carcass and add stuff, and it can be a vegetable soup. It can be like a chicken noodle soup. It could be split pea or lentil. I have people who give me their turkey carcasses that I then stick in the freezer and pull out to make soup.
Hi, Larry. I've got another soup question for you. When you
Yes.
make delicious homemade soup, it's usually consumed really quick because it's so delicious it doesn't last. But if you make enough that there's still leftovers, how many days do you keep the leftovers before it goes down the drain?
I've never found out. It always gets eaten up. Now, soup generally tastes better the second day. It's good the first day, but it's generally better after it sits for a day. But I've been known to have the same batch of soup, and take portions of it, for over several days. With anything else, I would say, um, if it smells funny, then you throw it out. But I don't think I've ever gotten to that point with soup.
Do you ever freeze the soup, the leftovers for another day?
I have. Um, but I usually don't keep it long enough to have to freeze it. But yeah, most soups will freeze very well. If I was gonna freeze it, I might have left out the potatoes because they boiled or cooked potatoes like that tend to not hold together well after being frozen. I'll also add that, any of the additions with meat, especially if you have bones, like a turkey carcass, keep going back to that. They'll help thicken up the soup. Now, one issue with, say, a turkey carcass is, or anything else like, let's say, a whole rotisserie chicken or chicken pieces, whatever. What I'll do is after those pieces are all cooked, I'll fish them out and let the soup continue to simmer, and I'll let the pieces cool off. And then I'll put on a couple of these gloves and I'll pick the meat off, put the meat back in. It's kind of, shredded at that point, and discard the bones, but the bones of and the skin also, for that matter. They've done their job by that point.
All right, Larry, you do have some comments in the chat. Well, first of all,
Okay.
your daughter wants everyone to know that you make a great turkey carcass soup, and it's delicious.
Thank you, Juliana.
Lisa wants to know if you make any summer soups, like fruit soups.
I've never made a fruit soup. I made gazpacho once. That was good. And there was no cooking involved. I found a recipe where you started with V8 and added a bunch of cut up vegetables and I forget what else, some seasonings. I need to dig up that recipe somewhere because that is a good summer soup. But on the other hand, I eat hot soup year round. So.
Yeah, me too. I do too. So, all right, my very good friend, Mr. Watts, you could use an Instant Pot to both saute the vegetables and then cook the soup.
Yes, I appreciate that, Bob. I don't have an Instant Pot.
Oh.
And I don't have room for one either, so. I mean, as it is,
Yeah. He also says another shortcut is to just use the pre-cut, what is it? Irepoix. I don't know how to say that. Mirepoix?
Mirepoix.
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 That's the celery, onions, and carrots cut up mix
Oh.
that you can buy to saute, so you don't have to do that work yourself.
He gets that at Trader Joe's.
The saute, what I had here, took like about, or not to saute it, to chop up what I had here, took probably about 10 minutes. Wasn't that long. One thing I'll say, with the celery, I usually get this already cut off celery stalks at Costco, which tend to not have the leaves in them. But if you have like a full thing of celery, you cut up the leaves too, throw them in. Can't hurt. If you have fresh parsley, you can chop that up and throw that in.
Okay. And the next one's from Rich Head down in Florida, and I actually know this little trick. So he's talking about matzo ball soup, and he wants to know if you add seltzer to your matzo balls to make them light and fluffy.
I have done that.
Yeah, a lot of people have done that. That's a good one. That is a good one. So those are your questions for this evening. So
Okay.
so when's this going to be done so we can come over?
Well, to have it fully done would probably be like another half hour or so. What I'm going to do though. I see this again. I'm gonna put this packet in.
Exactly, Lisa. Soup for me, right?
A good soup, you start cooking it at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and maybe it's ready for dinner.
Well, yeah, I mean, I started the packet. When was it? Like around 6. So it had been cooking for about 2 hours when we went on the air. And to be honest with you, a lot of times I don't use the packet. I just start from scratch. But I wanted to put together a recipe that would be relatively easy for everyone to follow. And as I say at the end of the video, you should experiment.
All right, everyone. Thank you again, Larry. Great job. And we have some great ideas to come down the pike, so we'll have them.